Every time I have an opportunity to reach inside of America's jails and prisons, I feel as if it's the fulfillment of a vision that really began more than 30 years ago, I guess, back in 1987 when I was still locked inside of a solitary cell, facing a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. I really wanted to work toward using the time that I would serve in such a way to contribute to the lives of others. It's one of the lessons that I learned from Nelson Mandela in the previous lesson, the previous reading of this book. I referenced those role models and how they influenced me along the journey. Well, today we are going to continue reading from my book, Prison, My 8,344th Day. It's a typical day in an ongoing journey. And one of the role models was Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who inspired me to write this book because of his work called A Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich. Now, in today's reading, I'm titling it Creating Luck, or I think that's what it's called, Creating Luck or Creating Your Own Luck, because I'm going to share with you some of the strategies that worked for me in building a more fortunate life or creating opportunities even while I was serving multiple decades in prison. So let me turn to the book itself, and I will continue reading the manuscript called Creating Luck. I finished writing blog number 919 and stand to look out the window. The sun shines brilliantly in the clear blue sky. It will be another spectacular day with temperatures eventually reaching between 85 and 90 degrees. I thank God for allowing me to serve this portion of my sentence in such a relaxed environment. I have always seen the good in the prisons that held me. That probably sounds somewhat delusional to outsiders, but by living a goal-centered adjustment, I made progress wherever administrators assigned me. When I meet prison staff for the first time, they sometimes tell me that I am lucky. Multiple decades in prison didn't harden me to the point where I wouldn't fit in with society. I see the adjustment differently. To me, luck sounds serendipitous. I have learned that by working hard, we can create our own luck. While confined in higher security prisons, I persuaded universities to admit me, even though I didn't have any financial resources. After earning a degree, I convinced a graduate school to accept me. While in Fort Dix, I leveraged that education to create business opportunities. And while in minimum security camps, more opportunities opened. As wise people have often written, the harder we work, the luckier we get. During these past 3 years that I have been in the Taft camp, I have made excellent use of the laid-back atmosphere. Experience has taught me that it's not the prison that makes a person's time productive. The grass is greener wherever a person waters it. A constructive prison adjustment begins with a good attitude. I intend to create my luck regardless of where administrators send me. The guard who works the day shift hasn't arrived yet, so the housing unit door remains locked. I am impatient, eager to begin exercising. Beyond the door of this quiet room, a crowd stands by chatting. Everyone waits for an officer to unlock the door. When the housing unit opens, most men will walk to the chow hall for breakfast. I have been awake and working for longer than 4 hours, and I still haven't spoken to anyone. The quiet space gives me time to think, which I appreciate. Someone left the Sunday, May 23rd issue of the New York Times on the table. Although 3 weeks have passed since the publication date, the paper is new to me. I flip through the pages and pull out the magazine section, where I find an article by Emily Bazelon. Emily wrote about California's 3 strikes sentencing law. She is a scholar from the law school at Yale University, the kind of person I may want to reach. I begin reading her story. Before finishing, I see the day shift officer walking toward the housing unit. It's 5:57 and time to go exercise. I tear the article from the magazine and put it in the stack with the other writing materials that I organize in a pile on the table. I am confident that no one will disturb my books and papers while I exercise, so I don't mind leaving things unattended. I pull out a set of orange earplugs from the right pocket of my running shorts. I roll each between my thumb and index finger and insert one into each ear. I am ready to go. Immediately, when I open the door to leave the quiet room, I join scores of other men walking out. This morning, the chow hall will serve scrambled eggs, oatmeal, and a sausage patty. Breakfast never interests me in here. I don't like to exercise with more than the early morning slice of bread in my stomach. I descend the stairs of my housing unit, then turn right toward the track, weaving my way through the men who converse while they walk. When I reach the track, the air already feels warm. In this community near Bakersfield, we have more than 300 days of sunshine every year. Although temperatures rise into the triple digits on some days during the summer months, it is always pleasant before 9 a.m. I pull off my tank top, fold it around my ID card, and set it on the steel bleachers in front of the basketball court. I am free to run without a shirt on in this camp, and I am grateful for this privilege. Some prisons are more strict, requiring us to wear shirts, even when we're exercising. Before transferring to Taft Camp, I hadn't been allowed to exercise without a shirt since 1995, when I was in the Federal Correctional Institution at McKean in Pennsylvania. About 17 other regular early morning exercisers are in the recreation area with me. They're jamming to music that blasts through their headphones or talking among themselves. I still have not said one word aloud since opening my eyes at 1:34 this morning. The oval track in this prison has a much bigger perimeter than the typical quarter-mile track at most high schools. It is not well maintained, with many slopes and ruts. Fist-sized rocks protrude through the surface in various places. Although I have never tripped while running, I have seen others who have, so I am conscious of every step. I look forward to exercising because it is one of the defined ways to gauge progress. Since committing to run every day back in 2008, that was in December of 2008, I have changed the goal a few times. First, I was striving to reach 500 miles without taking a day of rest. Before reaching that goal, I upped it to 1,000 miles. Then I went for 5,000 miles. Now I am determined to exercise every day until I walk out. I have run 4,877 miles since my last rest day, according to my journal. If I hit 65 miles over the next 2 weeks, I'll reach 5,000 miles. That distance represents a significant milestone for me, taking me halfway to 10,000 miles. By the time I get to 10,000 miles, I should be home or within striking distance of release. Clear goals have empowered me through these years. I was still in the county jail when I came up with a clearer plan to guide my adjustment. At the time, I couldn't contemplate what it would mean to serve 26 years in prison. I hadn't been alive that long. It just seemed too far away. I remember setting goals that I wanted to hit during the first 10 years. I wanted to earn a university degree, persuade a publisher to bring my writing to market, and persuade 10 people to join my support network. Setting those specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, time-bound goals empowered me. Either I would succeed or I would fail. The prison couldn't stop me. That strategy lessened the helpless feeling of serving time. Instead, I pursued something that felt meaningful. It put me on a pathway to build confidence. I have used goals to guide my decisions throughout the journey. While running, I think about the goals I'll set going forward. Gravel crunches under my feet, but my earplugs muffle the sound. Although I prefer to run without the earplugs, as I round the first turn and come upon Jerome, I remember why I need them. Jerome runs several times each week. He runs with Pete, and they either argue about sports or sing while they run. This morning, I hear music blasting from their headphones as I approach them. Both Jerome and Pete sing, hollering the lyrics. My bright orange earplugs serve another purpose besides muffling noise. The fluorescent color contrasts with my short black hair and white cotton headband. People easily recognize the unmistakable sign that I am not looking for small talk while exercising. Running is my time to appreciate nature, the blessings of life. As my body slices through the light morning breeze, I don't feel like a prisoner. Fences don't enclose us here at Taft Camp. A few hundred acres of sagebrush and tall grass separate us from the broader community. People who choose could reach the highway in a 10-minute sprint. But what would be the point of running away? Although people make their own decisions, I would never want to live as a fugitive, with law enforcement pursuing me for the rest of my life. When I transferred from Fort Dix to Florence, Colorado, the first minimum security camp for me, I had 10 more years to serve before release. Even then, I didn't feel an inclination to escape. While confined at the camp in Lompoc, I had a job in the prison's powerhouse. The job required that I drive in an unescorted car on a public highway every night at midnight. Other people said they would leave if they could. I didn't have any intention of escaping. I have more freedom here as I am running around this track than I could ever feel if I were a fugitive. More people have joined me on the track now. They walk in pairs, conversing or listening to music through headphones. I weave my way around them. The track circles a soccer field, a softball field, tennis courts, and a basketball court. I intend to run 10 miles, as I do every day except Friday, when I run between 3 and 5 miles. On Fridays, Carol visits me. Those visiting days strengthen my spirits. While I'm out here running, I think about the life Carol and I will lead when my sentence ends. That thought stays on my mind every day. We're not young. I can see how my body has aged each time I press the lap counter on my Ironman watch. I run at a slower pace than I did 10 years ago. The scope of my exercise routine has changed over the years. During my 20s, I lifted weights, always striving to increase my strength and size. I began incorporating running into my routine during my 30s. Although I continued training for strength during my 40s, running became my primary exercise. As I've aged, I have noticed that my muscles take longer to recuperate, and my running pace has slowed considerably. I don't mind at all. No one at Taft Camp pounds out more miles each week, but several prisoners run faster than I like to run. I never accept invitations to run in competitions. When others try to run beside me, I change directions. I'm not trying to be rude, but this is my time for planning, thinking, and reflecting. This morning, I am calculating how much Carol and I will have to earn each year to prepare for a comfortable retirement. I expected to have more money in savings by this stage of my imprisonment. The lawyer who represented me during my criminal trial successfully relieved me of all the ill-gotten gains I earned from selling cocaine. Although I didn't have any financial resources after the sentencing hearing, I created numerous income opportunities while serving my sentence. At the start of my sentence, other people advised me on how to serve time. Their advice didn't make a lot of sense. I didn't want to be a prisoner. I wanted to become successful after my release. Since I knew what I wanted, I started to think about what I should learn. Personal development projects would guide my adjustment. I wanted to learn skills that would make me more valuable in the job market. Since I couldn't control what courses would be available, I looked for learning opportunities that I could pursue regardless of where administrators put me. I decided to learn how to communicate effectively. That meant I needed to develop better verbal skills and better writing skills. By building a more robust vocabulary, I can improve my reading comprehension. With better reading skills, I can enhance my critical thinking. Those skills allowed me to create opportunities regardless of where administrators kept me. From writing, I earned an income. That income allowed me to begin building financial resources. By reading about the stock market, I had the confidence to invest, allowing me to earn and lose money. My body may have been in prison, but I kept my mind free. Since Carol came into my life, I have had a greater sense of urgency. Writing projects I created from inside prison boundaries generated more than $200,000 in after-tax income for our family. That wouldn't sound like much in the real world, where income opportunities abound. But I have never come across another person in prison who generated as much income through self-generated work projects while serving a lengthy prison term. By taking the time to learn writing skills, I opened opportunities to earn resources that would support my wife. We used those resources to cover Carol's living expenses while she advanced through nursing school. We have built our life together. And any time prison administrators moved me from one prison to another, she uprooted her life to join me so we could take advantage of visiting privileges. As I make loops around the track, I press the lap counter on my watch, but I am not paying attention to interval times. Instead, I am absorbed with mental calculations. By the end of the year, when Carol graduates, I expect that we will have between $30,000 and $40,000 in savings. Carol will then have her credentials to work as a registered nurse. That means she won't have to rely upon the earnings we accumulate from my writing and publishing projects. If all goes well, we'll have more than $100,000 in savings when I walk out. We'll be 48 when I transfer to a halfway house. We won't own a home, nor will we have a retirement plan. But with $100,000 in savings, we'll be in a stronger position to start our life together when I get out. How much will we have to earn each year to prepare for retirement? That question consumes my concentration this morning, as it frequently does. It keeps me awake at night. Once I finish my prison sentence, I do not want to suffer from financial stress. Carol and I must live beneath our means with a total commitment to building stability. As an RN, she should earn at least $60,000 a year, and while in the halfway house, I expect to make as much as she does. Will $120,000 in income be sufficient for us to build stability or a retirement plan? By the time we reach our 60s, I hope that we'll have enough financial resources to enjoy life. But I don't have any realistic notion of how much we'll need. With $120,000 in income, I expect we'll pay about $40,000 in taxes, leaving $80,000 for us to spend. We may spend another $40,000 each year to meet living expenses, leaving us with only $40,000 to invest in a retirement plan. At 60, we will have only deposited about $400,000 into that plan. The more I calculate, the more I realize how little $400,000 will provide. It won't be sufficient to generate a fixed income stream to support us through our advancing years. As I complete lap after lap, I accept that I will need to work hard and generate an income well into my 70s, perhaps even into my 80s. Those are the complications that come with serving 26 years in prison. And those kinds of thoughts give me a reason to exercise. I have got to do what I can to stay healthy. I have read news stories about obesity being an epidemic throughout America. To reach my fullest potential, I have got to stay healthy. Now, as I turn to the end of this chapter, as I frequently try to do, I ask a few questions that I hope will prompt people in jail and prison to begin thinking about what can you do today to put yourself on the pathway to success. So here are a couple of questions to consider. In what ways have you worked to create luck? Number 2, what strategies have worked well for you to stay productive? And 3, what thoughts do you have about earning potential once you get out of prison? I ask those questions because I've met so many people since I have been home who've really faced challenges getting back into the job market. And it's really tough. But if a person prepares well while he's inside, he can start sowing the seeds that are going to lead to a better outcome. We offer all types of information on our website at prisonprofessors.com, and we make that available for free for anybody who wants to spend time reading through those articles and learning strategies. You can see I'm creating this content every day with hopes of helping people learn from the lessons that I learned from leaders while I was going through a lengthy prison term. This is one of the ways that I can work to be the change I want to see in the world. Now, my name is Michael Santos. I've got a great team here at Prison Professors, and on behalf of all of us, we want to thank you for being a part of our community. If you're watching this outside on YouTube or listening on iTunes or someplace else, please subscribe to our program or like us or whatever the case may be. We strive to provide as much content as we possibly can to improve outcomes for criminal justice-impacted people or anybody that's going through the system. Again, my name is Michael Santos. On behalf of our team, I want to thank you for being a part of our community.